Hey everybody, ronarray here, and since GG added a few additional mechanics to farm in Dawn on the Hunt, good old Ultimatum lost some attention of people. So I wanted to do a proper farming test for Ultimatum, including killing the boss, to check it out if it's even profitable right now, and how much currency we can make, both from just running basic Ultimatum, all 10 waves, and from killing the boss directly. Are we going to drop at least a single Adorned? So for that, I farmed 50 Ultimatums, and I'm going to showcase all my loot and all my thoughts about the process in that video. Let's go! So after I did 50 runs of Ultimatum, let's talk about the results. And first off, the most profitable part of Ultimatum running currently is Soul Cores. Generally, in 50 runs I received 150 soul cores, so every run is producing at least 3 cores, which is a pretty nice number. Some of them are more expensive and some of them are less expensive. So here I have a set of cores that I dropped, and all of them from 5 to 6 exalted. Those are not really expensive, and I'm just going to calculate them all together because those could be just used for reroll, or you can sell them so other people can try to reroll themselves. I also dropped 26 of top 10 cores. Those are around 6 exalted more stably and even closer to 7 at times. 18 soul cores of City Quattle. Those are around 8 exalts each. 26 of soul core of Takati, and I think amount of Takatis is much higher than it's usually expected, so maybe I got a little lucky there. But every Takati core is right now around 15 exalted, and 27 of them is going to be a pretty decent part of price. Another good bank is soul core of G20. I dropped 10 of them, and every G20 soul core costs about 25 exalted currently, which is absolutely awesome, and it's almost 2 divines just in G20 soul cores. And the main bank here is soul core of Tikaba. I dropped 15 soul cores of Tikabas currently, and each one of those is 140 exalted, so a little more than a divine. Right now I have 15 divines or even 16 divines just in soul cores of Tikaba, and I think that's the main price of the whole run, because we are going to mostly profit from selling soul cores of Tikabas. I also dropped only 2 soul cores of Atskaba. I think those are pretty rare right now, but since quantity of gold is not really popular stat and spirit for weapons is mostly used just for minion builds, those are not really expensive and they're approximately around 30-31 exalted currently. So based on all soul cores dropped without Tikaba, I received around 10 and maybe 11 divines from all those cores, and 15-16 more divines from Tikaba. So generally, just from soul cores, I received up to 26 or maybe even 27 with a little better prices from all 50 runs, and I think it's pretty good. It's half the divine per run just from soul cores, but we had a different measures to pretty much get even more profit, which I'm going to cover later on. I think right now, it also could be a little random, because if you will drop more Tikabas, your profit will go heavily up, and if you will drop less Tikabas, your profit will go down. However, I think it's a pretty good average compared on 50 runs, and generally you should expect at least 10 Tikabas and up to 20 approximately. Anyway, I think 26 divines and 50 runs is a very nice profit, and especially considering that it could be harder to make a bank while running maps, I think Ultimatum could be just profitable with cores if the price will not drop down. Now let's talk about other pleasant way to make profit. While you're running that whole set, sometimes you're encountering inscribed ultimatums with corruption bonuses if you're fighting the boss, or sometimes you're just dropping a lot of chaos orbs in general. And over here I received a very decent number, around 117 chaos orbs, together with 45 Val orbs, and even one basic divine dropped from one of the bosses. I think it's a very nice result compared to the whole situation. Val orbs are currently not really expensive, though all of them is just like around 32 exalted in general, and Chaos Orbs to Divine is around 22 Chaos Orbs per 1 Divine. So I currently have about 5 Divines in Chaos Orbs right here, together with 1 Divine that just dropped. So together with 26 Divines from Soul Cores, I received 32 Divines just from Currency and Soul Cores together, and 6 Divines just from Currency dropped. I think it's a very good result, and 32 Divines in general is making that run pretty profitable, considering that you can run multiple ultimatums per hour and it's not really that long. I think right now it's in a very good position, but there's also one additional state of things that we can consider a profit: masks that the boss is dropping, and I'm going to cover them right now. So now every run is going to drop you one part of the mask in the end. There's Deadly Fate, Cowardly Fate, and Victorious Fate. Out of the mask, I just dropped 15 Deadly Fates, which are pretty expensive, and 35 Cowardly Fate and Victorious Fate together. I'm going to count them together because they both has price around 5 Exalted each, and Deadly Fate right now costs around 20. So from Deadly Fates, I received around 300 Exalted, which is a pretty good number, and 35 of Cowardly Fate and Victorious Fate lead me to 175 Exalted, which is pretty nice as well. In general, that's about 475 Exalted or 3.5 Divines. Together with everything else that we already calculated, my profit is around 35 to 36 Divines approximately, or 35 and a half. And I think in 50 runs that's a very good profit, because we are practically making more than half a Divine each run, which is just absolutely amazing considering the runs are very simple to do and you don't even need to prepare specifically. And you can also drop Currency, you can drop Mask, you can drop Cores. All of that is going to be pretty easy to sell, because most of the time you can just go to Alva right here and use Currency Exchange to sell most of those. So right now I've been very happy with just farming Ultimatum that way, but there's another important part that I want to cover. It's pretty much fighting Ultimatum Boss using all 3 masks and trying to drop the Adorned. So one of the important parts of that test being the idea that I wanted to see if I can drop the Adorned at the last boss. The chance currently to drop the Adorned is around 2%, so out of 50 runs there's a pretty decent chance that I'm going to drop it. To encounter the boss and to fight him, you will need to use Deadly Fate, Cowardly Fate, and Victorious Fate. I'm going to calculate an approximate amount of currency that you will need to spend to pretty much enter the boss 50 times. And right now, just buying 50 Deadly Fate, you will need to spend 1000 Exalteds, and 250 for Cowardly and 250 for Victorious Fate. And in the end, you will need to spend 1500 Exalteds just to fight boss pretty much enough time for 50 runs. And out of all those fights, so 50 fights, I pretty much completed, and I paid more than just 10 Divines, that's around 11.5 Divines approximately that I paid for the masks. I dropped no Adorned. Unfortunately, not a single jewel dropped, and that way I pretty much just lost 11.5 Divines. There have been small drops from the boss, it's mostly basic gloves and stuff like that, but unfortunately it's not really provided any kind of value. So right now I'm very unhappy with the boss, and even if I would drop the Adorned right now, unidentified Adorned cost approximately 13 to 15 Divines. So since I paid 11.5 per all the runs, I honestly think that my profit will be very, very small, 2 or 3 Divines for a huge risk. Because if you're going to miss the Adorned, so nothing is going to drop, you're going to lose tremendous amount of currency, 10 Divines or even more, and I think right now, farming the boss is completely not profitable, because the chance for Adorned is small, and if before we had a way to drop Makuk Sotal Sheld, right now Makuk Sotal Sheld pretty much absolutely useless. It costs nothing, and even if it will drop, it's not going to change anything. Well, I dropped a few in the process, but I don't think it changed anything at all. And if before you had both Adorned and Makuk Sotal, right now you just need to only pick one, so only Adorned can save you from losing currency. And since the chance is low, it's approximately 2%, I think fighting the boss right now is not the best idea considering what we already seen and like based on my experience on those 50 runs. So would I recommend farming from in general? And I would say that absolutely yes. I think 50 runs of Simulacrum provided a decent amount of currency, it's also very easy to do, you can run it fast, and there's not a lot of issues while doing it. But fighting the boss, in my opinion, is a very big gamble right now, and I probably wouldn't recommend to do that. However, if you feel lucky, you can still try, because if you're going to drop the Adorned from first try, well, you're going to make a pretty decent profit, especially if you will sell it unidentified and will not gamble it further. So overall, Ultimatum right now is in a pretty decent position, even if the boss itself is not really providing a lot of value, especially considering that you will need to spend a little time fighting him as well. I'm pretty happy to see a different mechanic from the usual Ritual, Breach and Expedition mile run from the maps, and I think running Ultimatum right now is giving more experience, more amount of currency than I expected. And it's been a very nice experience too, so I can definitely recommend it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you will drop that Adorned for me, because I got nothing in the end. ronarray out.